Touchdown BC is sponsored by CFC. CanadaFootballChat.com is a national amateur football website and a source for high school and recruiting news in Canada. CFC's mission is to promote players, coaches, administrators, teams, and leagues from coast to coast. 40-plus local reporters write CFC's content covering Canadian NCAA and CIS recruiting, and high school players and teams across the continent. Touchdown BC is also sponsored by Chris Peckett. Veteran trial lawyer and football coach is now restricting his law practice to motor vehicle personal injury claims. Call his office at 604-519-6060 for a free consultation.
Welcome to episode 12 of Touchdown BC. He's AC, I'm TC. This past weekend we rocked on with Super Saturday Part 3.
Yeah, it seems like every Saturday the past couple weeks have been a Super Saturday. This weekend, Community was playing their semifinals, BC High School was playing their semifinals, and the biggest game of all, the Vanier Cup, UBC looking for their first title in 18 years.
The UBC Thunderbirds began their 2015 campaign with an air of uncertainty. Personnel changes included a new coach and a new freshman quarterback who had never played Canadian football rules. And the translation wasn't seamless either, as UBC started off with a 2-2 record. But since September 25th, the Thunderbirds have gone undefeated. They won their final 4 games of the regular season and the past 3 playoff games, going into their first Vanier Cup final since 1997. So the question remains, would they keep their streak alive?
Time for the Vanier Cup. Caravan's feeling like it's almost a home game for them, with this game being hosted at Laval. UBC's first Vanier appearance in 18 years, and to get amped up before the coin toss. Beginning of the first cue is Quinn Van Gilswyk drills a 45-yard field goal to put UBC up 3 early on. Later in the first, the stud goes at it again 33 yards out, putting the Birds up 6-0. Less than 30 seconds to go in the first quarter, and Cousineau is intercepted by Dylan Chapdelaine. Big turnover by the Birds. Second quarter now, and Michael O'Connor finds one of his favorite targets, Marcus Davis, from 6 yards out. UBC ahead 13-0. Later in the queue, O'Connor finds Will Watson, who had a monster day for the Thunderbirds. And that would set up another big field goal from Van Gilswyk, who makes no mistake from 43 yards out. But the Caravans start mounting a comeback as Gabriel Cousineau finds Guillaume Paquette from 12 yards out. O'Connor, the gunslinger, wasn't done there though, as he fires a rocket to Alex Morrison with a nice over-the-shoulder catch. Third cue we go, and Brandon Banger Deschamps goes beast mode. He turns on the Jets at midfield and runs so hard, nobody would be taking this guy down. 44-yard touchdown for Deschamps. Montreal trying to get back into this one, but Stavros Katsantonis has other ideas as he strips Sean Thomas Erlington and dives all over it. Great play, Katsantonis. Fourth cue now, and Montreal tied up at 23s with a great diving catch by Samuel Nadeau-Puig. UBC looking to go ahead later in the fourth, but they butcher the snap and Caravan recovers. Uh-oh. But just look at the stingy UBC defense coming up huge once again with another pick. 1 second to go in the game, QVG with a chance to win it, and he drills it between the uprights. And just look at this vintage celebration by the hero. I love it. All the T-Birds storm the field to congratulate Van Gilswyk, just as everyone watching at home on the West Coast loses their mind too. And without any more deliberation, the UBC Thunderbirds cap off their Cinderella season in the most unimaginable way possible by lifting the Vanier Cup. And in the huge Vanier Cup win, Michael O'Connor had a 61% completion rating to go with 389 yards and a touchdown, while Will Watson had an amazing 171 yards receiving, while Banger had 79 yards and a TD of his own. But it was the defense and special teams that came up huge for the T-Birds once again.
Welcome to the UBC Report. Joining us in studio, as he does every week, is Jim Mullen, the voice of Canada West. Jim, let's get right into this one. Crazy game. UBC got off to another early lead in this one, and then they kind of seemed like they were coasting after that. What happened?
Well, I think that the Montreal Caravan made some great adjustments in the second half, and UBC had their backs to the wall. But what a great open by the UBC Thunderbirds in that first half to really dictate the flow and the tempo of this game. And most of that flow and tempo came through the arm of Michael O'Connor. There was an interesting stat about a quarter and a half into this game. where O'Connor had only completed 5 of 13 on first down. So there he was facing 2nd and 10 on a number of occasions, on 8 occasions, and in most cases turning those things into first downs. I think his receivers made some outstanding plays as well. I think Marcus Davis saved maybe his best day as a receiver for last. I think Will Watson, once again, we saw the guy who's 5'10", play 6'4". And everybody really found a way to contribute. The offensive line held up much better than what Guelph's offensive line did against the Carabins the previous week. And considering they're a work in progress, that was outstanding. On the defensive side of the ball, I thought that's where the weakness was going to be for the UBC Thunderbirds in terms of the 3-man front working against the Montreal run game. Because the offense took that early lead, it got Montreal off their rhythm offensively, and they really didn't go to that run game as much as I expected them to. It almost turned out to be a scenario like the Calgary Dinos and the UBC Thunderbirds in the Hardy Cup game, where Calgary was thrown off track and they never got their running game on track. So that worked as a plus for UBC, and I was very impressed by the defensive front. Connor Griffiths at end, Dante Vigini, Boyd Richardson, all the guys in that rotation. We know that it's the end of a long season. We know that they worked a lot. And that they were all injured to one degree or another, and they came up with a huge game against a very strong offensive line. And then what can you say about QVG? I mean, Quinn Van Gilswyk is completely reliable. He may spend a year or two in the CFL as a punter. He's a great place kicker now, too. He can play both sides of the game. You know, he might take the route of John Ryan in terms of Ryan establishing a 50.1-yard average with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers after 2 years coming out of the Regina Rams program and then going to the NFL. Or he might get a look at an NFL camp. I think the kid's got that much potential and is that good. And the reason that I can say something like that is that we've seen, especially over this year, the growth of his game in terms of his numbers getting better as the season goes along. So, you know, in all 3 facets of the game, UBC, you know, saved a really good game against a very good team and came up with a national championship. It may be the best sports story in Vancouver over the last 2 years. You know, come up with one. Is there a better one? Lions haven't come up with it. The Canucks haven't come up with it. Maybe the Whitecaps have come close. Maybe the business operations of the Vancouver Canadians are a good story. But is there a better story than this UBC championship? I say no.
As Jim mentioned last week, the UBC game started off before Bureau Clock, but after the 16-0 game, I think that kind of changed things. That's the UBC Report with Jim Mullen.
UBC did it. They are your Vanier Cup champs. The T-Birds proved that a team filled with predominantly BC-born players could be, no, correction, are the best team in the nation. Before we get to the Vanier Cup, last week the 2015 CIS All-Canadians roster was announced and 2 BC-born players made the first team, with 2 others making the second team. Now let's find out who those players are.
Victoria native Quinn Van Gilswyk was UBC's only All-Canadian this year. He made it as a punter. Van Gilswyk had an incredible year punting. He averaged 43.6 yards a punt, which was first in the nation. Then there was Calgary wide receiver Rashawn Simon. The Vancouver native finished second in the country when it came to receiving yards a game. He averaged a whopping 134.9 yards. There were also 2 BC-born players that were named second-team All-Canadians. First, there was McMaster linebacker and Aldergrove native Jake Heathcote. Then there was Manitoba return man and Surrey native Jamel Lyles. Now let's take a look at the BC-born players that played a pivotal role in UBC's Vanier Cup win. When we come back, we will take you to the Subway Bowl in BC high school football with 2 AAA semifinals, 2 AA semifinals, and the Tier 2 championships.
The CFL and our partners at Football Canada want to make sure we keep growing, promoting, and investing in a safe game. Football Canada now requires all amateur coaches to be safe contact trained by 2017. By creating a standard of safety for all in our football community, we're making an already great game even better. Make sure your youth coach is safe contact trained, because making a safe game means making a better game.
Welcome back. Ty, huge slate of games this past weekend on Saturday in the Dome.
It's true. We had the Tier 2 championships to start off the day. Pretty good way to start, if you ask me. Then we had AA, AAA, AA, and then finally back to the AAA. What happened in those ones?
It's almost here. This weekend is the Subway Bowl final. 19 teams in AAA started the season back in August with the goal of making it to the championship game. Some teams had better odds than others, but it's no surprise that the final 4 teams playing in the semifinals this past weekend were in our top 5 rankings for most of the season. Each team deserved to be there, and each team could have won the whole thing. Let's not wait any longer. Let's find out who will be playing in the championship game this Saturday.
Vancouver College, New West, AAA semifinals. Irish get on the board first. Jasper Scheidel from 17 yards out. He will get to the end zone for a major VC up 7. Same cue. Hayeks look to respond. David Penalver gets the rock, and this is what we have seen all year. Pure speed. But New West would be forced to punt a couple plays later. Early second, 3rd down Irish. BC pivot Jacob Samuels buys some time before finding an open Ryzen John, who makes a leaping catch for the 1st down. Later in the drive, power back Chris Ellis runs it in for the rushing major. BC up 14. Just before the half, Hayaks make it a 1-score game. QB Jamie Sheeho finds a wide open Justin Swartz. Jamie and Justin team up for the 20-yard TD pass. 14-6 Irish at the half. Middle third, Samuels will find Ryzen John again. John comes up with the play of the game. Did he really just catch that? 2 plays later, it's Ellis again running it in for the score. Late 4th, it's the Hayaks making it a game. Sheeho gets the TD on the QB keeper. Down 9 now, New West decides to go for 2. Sheeho keeps it on the play action pass, but unfortunately BC is all over it, and Sheeho is forced out of bounds. With 1:30 left, BC puts the game away with his 8-yard scamper and score from Brandon Kachelian. Vancouver College is going to the Subway Bowl for the 2nd time in 4 years, beating the New West Hayaks 28-12. Mount Douglas taking on Terry Fox in the other semi. The Rams get off to a great start. Gideon Kremler finds an open Griffin Pozniak, breaks a tackle at the 1 and dives in for the major. Mount Doug up 6. Same cue, the Ravens take the lead on this 3-yard TD run by Jeremy Kankalongo. Terry Fox up 7-6. Rams respond on their next drive. Declan Michelin uses his tires and runs it in from 1 yard out. 13-7 Rams now. Second cue, Rams start to pour it on. Kremler finds Michelin out of the backfield, and the Michelin man does the rest, breaking a tackle at the 10 before running it in for the 35-yard TD. Ravens' next drive, it's Jake LaBerge looking for Kankalongo, but is picked off by Javon McNally. Hardesty MH is gone, returning it 50 yards for the pick 6. Terry Fox would score before half. LaBerge finds Keith Lewers from 5 yards out for the major. Mount Doug up 26-14 at the half. Early third, Manny Lopez takes the handoff and goes yard, right up the middle, finishing in the end zone like Superman would. Rams up 32-14. Terry Fox wouldn't quit. LaBerge calls his own number late in the third from 5 yards out and gets the score. Rams' next drive, Gavin Cobb ices the game first with a little trickery. Cobb gets the pass and hucks up a bomb to a wide open Pozniak for the 50-yard TD. Then Cobb takes the handoff from 5 yards out and literally walks in for the major. Rams' next drive, Kremler finds Cobb deep and he scores for the 3rd time. Mount Doug is going to the Subway Bowl final for the 5th time in a row, beating the Terry Fox Ravens 53-20. Mount Doug will face Vancouver College for the AAA Varsity Championship this Saturday at BC Place. Kickoff at 7. Can't make it to the game, you can watch it live on Shaw TV. It's the Rams' 5th straight title appearance, going 3-1 the last 4 times. which included a win over BC in the 2012 final. AAA TDBC Player of the Week is Mount Doug's Gavin Cobb. The speedster had a touchdown hattie. He ran for one, caught one, and threw one as well against Terry Fox.
What a crazy weekend we had in AA semifinals, with both games going down at BC Place this past Saturday. Starting off with the Graham Bowl, it was really a shame that both of these two heavyweights had to square off against each other in the semis when both teams looked good enough to make it into the finals. But it would be ridiculous to assume Abbotsford and Langley weren't good enough to be there themselves when both teams looked terrific Saturday night. But it would be a familiar face that stole the show once again in that one.
Welcome to the Graham Bowl. GW taking on Carson for a spot in the finals, and Carson get on the board first with Flynn Hayes powering it up the middle. GW's turner and Gabriel Olivares wishes he could have this one back as he overthrows Emerson Smith right into the hands of Michael Kulik. XQ, Carson go up 10-0 as Killick Saxer drills the field goal right between the uprights. GW would show why they were the favorites, with Olivares showing off his cannon of an arm to Tyler Sprott. What a catch by Sprott. GW back at it, and Olivares fires an ICBM right into the sure hands of Sprott once again, this time for a gain of 23. GW would move further down the field before Olivares decides to show off the legs too, bruising that big body in for a touchdown. But Carson wouldn't just go away. Tyler Nylander hits Sean Tweed on the out pattern, and look at the awareness of Tweed, lateraling it back to a streaking Flynn Hayes. Great unselfish play by Tweed. GW looking to get back in it. Olivares under shotgun, he rolls out to the left, throws up a miracle, but his prayers are answered by the wrong team. Michael Kulik gets his second pick of the day. What a huge turnover for Carson. So Carson goes back to work, and one can only surmise as to what might happen next. Flynn Hayes finds a seam down the right side, and the big bulldozer would do the rest, rolling into the end zone, putting Carson ahead 24-14. And just as they look to put this game on the back burner, Tyler Nylander throws a pick right into the hands of Ethan Masson, who gives GW another chance in this game. So GW goes back to it, and Olivares throws a bullet to his favorite target, Tyler Sprott, moving the ball deep into Carson territory. Final quarter now, and the big boy Olivares rumbles in for his second touchdown of the day. Final moments of the fourth, GW down 3, and Olivares throws a dart, but what an athletic play as James Gamel gets the pick. Carson wins 24-21. Beginning of the first in our other semifinal game, and Langley butchers her snap on a punt for a safety, Abbey up 2-0. Later in the first, Langley shakes off the rust as Wes Van Vliet finds a wide open Max Joseph, who's got some great blocking out wide. Joseph breaks one tackle before doing a little stutter step at the end. He'd be gone 55 yards in for the score. Abbotsford's turn now, and John Madigan throws a beautiful pass to Reese Morrison, who turns on the Jets, and he'd be gone, putting the Panthers back ahead 9-8. Abbotsford gets the ball back, and they toss it up to the best high school player in the province, Chase Claypool, in double coverage, NBD. Second quarter, John Madigan fakes the pass and hands it off to the workhorse Richard Chimpaka, who breaks a tackle behind the line of scrimmage, and 2 more on the goal line, Abbey up 22-8. The Panthers keep their foot on the gas with less than a minute to go in the half, and what do? They throw it into double coverage for the Beast. Claypool with his second TD of the day, Panthers up 29-8. Second half now, Madigan throws up a bomb to the most athletic man west of the Allegheny Mountains, Chase Claypool, with his third TD of the night. Langley just trying to hang on now, and this would help. Wes Van Vliet finds his boy Max Joseph on a beautiful hitch-and-go pattern before putting on the brakes and breaking the ankles of the Panthers' defenders. But with all the weapons at Abbotsford's disposal, they give it back to their workhorse, Richard Chimpaka, and this guy is like the Roadrunner. Beep, beep. Chimpaka outruns everyone for a 55-yard touchdown. Saints Balno and Van Vliet throws it up to Azuka Okoli, and this guy likes to move it with a beautiful sidestep past Chase Claypool, grinding his way in for the score. But the Panthers get it back and look to put this game on ice. John Madigan throws up a prayer as he finds Claypool in single coverage, and this guy's as good as gold, Claypool's 4th of the day. Langley would score once more with Max Joseph getting his 3rd touchdown of the day, but it wouldn't be enough as Langley falls to Abbotsford 50-29. The AA Varsity Championship is set with Carson Graham taking on Abbotsford on Saturday, December 5th at 4 p.m. at BC Place. Our AA BC High School Player of the Week this week is Carson Graham's Flynn Hayes, who scored all of Carson's touchdowns with 3 TDs in their win over GW Graham. In the AAA Junior Varsity Championship, Mount Douglas plays New West on Saturday, December 5th in the Dome, with kickoff in that game beginning at 1:30 p.m. And over in the AA JV Championship, Windsor plays Mission on Saturday at BC Place at 11 a.m. And over in the Grade 8 championship game, Vancouver College takes on Seacom at 9 a.m. at BC Place on Saturday, December 5th. Tier 2 championships up for grabs. Howe Sound punts in the first quarter, but it's blocked by Earl Marriott. And just like that, Alonzo Vergara takes the toss out wide and rumbles in to put the Mariners on the board early on. Howe Sound ball and Connor Dawson tries to make something happen, but he was feeling the pressure all day long. Howe Sound do move the ball downfield though, and Scott Messier breaks tackles and jukes in and out to tie the game up for the Sounders. So it's Earl Marriott's turn once again. This time Owen Dickey throws a strike right into the hands of a streaking Alan Hogg for the 43-yard touchdown. Earl Marriott up a score. And just like they're playing a game of pickup in the street, Dickey connects with Hogg for another 43-yard gain, this time down to the 1-yard line. A couple plays later, Dickey connects with his co-captain Willie Gillette to put the Mariners up 2 scores. Howe Sound couldn't do anything next possession, so Earl Marriott goes back to work, and instead of getting taken down for a loss, Jackson Sylvester Lee powers it right by Howe Sound for a touchdown of his own. Third Q, Earl Marriott pressuring once again with Dickey hitting Lucas Ferris, putting the Mariners ahead 4 scores now. But Marriott doesn't take their foot off the gas as Owen Dickey throws his 5th touchdown of the day, this time to Reese McMartin. And in a last-ditch effort to keep this game close, Lucas Nearing takes the rock and pounds it up the gut for the Sounders. But this game was all Mariners as Earl Marriott beats Howe Sound 40-14 to win their 2nd straight provincial.
Now it's time for the BC High School Report with TDBC insider Dino Jeremiah. Dino, let's get right to it. Semifinals action this past weekend. Let's start with maybe some people didn't think that Mount Doug could beat Terry Fox, but you weren't one of those people.
No, I thought that Mount Doug has been playing great football. Their playoff game was their best game. Now playing against Terry Fox, that was their best game of the season. They've been there before. They know what it takes to win. They're getting hot. They're getting healthy. But kudos to both teams because I've watched Mount Doug and Terry Fox a few times over the year. Every time they play, it is a great high school football game, high level, great contact, a lot of great plays on both sides of the ball. So Mount Doug coming out on top. Congratulations to them being in the final again.
The other game, Vancouver College beating New West, which it looked like a pretty close game throughout that whole game. Maybe if those two teams meet again, maybe it's a different outcome.
Yeah, I think Vancouver College shut them down. The defense did a great job. I think it was the lowest point total for New West all year. So kudos to that defense. We have talked about them before. They came to play. New West had a little bit of trouble getting into a rhythm consistently, and then they weren't used to not being able to score and drive the field on people.
And then, so now that sets up Subway Bowl final. Mount Doug has the experience. They've been there 5 times in a row playing VC, and actually in 2012 they both met in the Subway Bowl with Mount Doug just shellacking VC. What do you think we're going to see in that game? And mind you, this season the two teams played, and VC held Mount Doug to 0 points.
Yeah, I think VC had a great game plan going into them last time. I was at the game. Mount Doug missed some chances in that game. I think that the turf is going to favor Mount Doug. They've got some great speed. They're healthy, probably healthier than they've been all year. That Vancouver College defense is going to be tested. I think it's going to be a great battle with that Vancouver College defense against those athletes on offense of Mount Doug, and it's going to be a great game.
It should be one of the best.
Yeah.
Now let's go to the AA semifinals first. Let's talk about the Grand Bowl. Carson beating GW, which GW was the favorite all year long, and GW found a way to win that one.
Well, congratulations to Coach Brian Brady. First year at Carson Graham, has done a great job with that program and bringing them to the final. They just played tough, showed a lot of toughness that I wasn't sure if they were going to be able to match them on the line of scrimmage, but between their offense and defensive lines, well coached, and just a great game all around that came together for them. So,
and what can you say about their running back Flynn Hayes, who had all of their touchdowns, and it seemed like he was just a running horse for them all game.
And he's one of the guys that when you talk about the toughness, he adds that big piece to it. Tough guy to bring down. You know, real nice runner as far as hitting the holes properly, finds the open seams, and then he's tough to bring down. So going to be a real challenge for Abbotsford. to play a sound defensive game against that, because Carson Graham has the ability to keep the ball out of Abbotsford's hands. And obviously we know about Chase Claypool and how quick he can strike. But if they can, again, keep the ball going and have some of those drives that shorten the game for Abbotsford, then Carson will be in a good spot.
Maybe the best thing is just to not let that Abbotsford offense on the field.
That's what you got to try to do, shorten that game. So, and special congratulations to Earl Marriott for their second Tier 2 championship, and Coach Michael Mackay-Dunn. Congratulations.
Now let's take a look at what happened in community, starting with midget. Victoria and Langley are both moving on to the finals after winning their semi-final games. The Victoria Spartans will play the Langley Stampeders this Sunday at McLeod Stadium. Now to the Bantam semi-finals. Victoria beats Langley 24-8, and South Delta still undefeated this season after their 37-6 win over North Surrey. The South Delta Rams will play the Victoria Spartans this Sunday at McLeod Stadium for the BCCFA Bantam Championship. Now here's a look at the 9-man Bantam Championship game. Salmon Arm Chargers will take on the Westside Warriors for the title. McLeod Stadium, Sunday, kickoff at 1:30. Cloverdale is your VMFL Junior Bantam champ after beating Coquitlam in a shootout, 45-36. The VMFL champs, the Cloverdale Cougars, will take on the BCFL champs, the Mission Niners, for the BCCFA title in Junior Bantam. This will also be at McLeod Stadium, Sunday, kickoff at 11. The Coquitlam Wildcats are your new VMFL Pee-wee champs after beating North Delta 28-6. The Coquitlam Wildcats, your VMFL Pee-wee champs, will take on the BCFL Pee-wee champs, the Meadow Ridge Knights Blue, for the overall title, Sunday, 9 a.m. at McLeod Stadium.
Well, that about does it for us here at Touchdown BC. Adam, last week was a Super Saturday. How about this one?
This week is going to be a super weekend. Starting on Saturday, we have the provincials going on at BC Place, starting with grade 8. We have JV, AA, and AAA, and then AA and varsity finished off with the AAA in the varsity as well.
Yep, and Sunday we got some big finals games, and on Saturday, those first 4 games, we'll actually be doing play-by-play and color commentary on Sports Canada TV, and the AAA finals will be at 7:30 that evening on Shaw TV, so make sure you tune into those ones.
And don't forget about community. If you want to see some of the community provincial finals, that will go Sunday starting early in the morning at McLeod Stadium.
He's AC, I'm TC, we'll see you next week.
Touchdown BC is sponsored by